Morning, everyone. It's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. This morning, I want to talk about the chart of Aldous Huxley, renowned author. His most famous book is Brave New World, which I read. He also wrote The Doors of Perception after a experience with psychedelic mescaline, and he was influential. I mean, the band The Doors were named after The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. So he was very influential in the hippie generation for that reason, obviously. But he was a very prolific author, and he was, he was a teacher. He taught George Orwell, for one thing, and they have the dystopian novel, two of the most famous dystopian novels of all time, Brave New World and 1984. So that's quite interesting that they came from the same area, and in fact were connected. Fascinating, really. So he was born in 26th of July, 1894. 1:20 a.m. in Godalming, England. That almost sounds like goddamning. Anyway, fascinating. I read Brave New World, and fantastic book. I mean, scary because of how accurate it is and how predictive it is in in the direction of society. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I won't spoil it for you, but well, basically our modern life is pretty much a spoiler. So there's that. Anyway, he's a Leo sun in the third house. So, I mean, that's fantastic for an author. Third house deals with writing, expression, speaking, obviously skills of the hands, expression in general, right? And the intellect. And it's in Leo, and Leo is highly creative sign. So sun in Leo is excellent. It's in dignity, it's in domicile. Sun rules Leo. So for a writer, sun in the third house in Leo, that's excellent. It doesn't get that much better than that for somebody like Aldous Huxley, an intellect and an intellectual and a writer. And he was brilliant. He was a brilliant man. Taurus moon. So his moon's exalted, his sun's in domicile. That's fantastic. They're very tightly square by 2 degrees, which is okay. I mean, it's not great. I have my sun and moon square. It does cause some inner conflict, but I mean, with the, you can't really complain about sun in Leo and moon in Taurus. I mean, even though they're square, they're in such good dignity that, some squares are good. It adds some tension, and it adds some fight and some motivation to the person. This is a closing square, right? So like an opening square would be moon in Scorpio. This is a closing square. So he's already with the moon phase. I don't usually talk about the moon phase, but this is somebody who's already well experienced in their particular field. If you look at it by sort of karmically, the position of the moon, it's the new moon is the beginning of the phase, and obviously depending on where it is, it's beginning or middle or ending. So this is the closing square, and it represents some challenges towards the end of a sun moon cycle. In any case, this is somebody who's well experienced in their craft and has been doing it. If you want to take in the previous lifetimes, this is somebody who's been doing it for at least one lifetime, or probably more than one lifetime. Gaining experience, perfecting a certain cycle, karmic cycle. Anyway, Moon's in the 11th house. I have an 11th house moon. 11th house moon is great because it really deals with big picture stuff. It's concerned with society. It's Aquarius' original house. It's concerned with groups and networks. It really gets filled with working with groups of people. It's also good for career success and wealth. It's an excellent moon. Gemini Ascendant, brilliant for writing. Again, we have the correlation between the third house and Gemini here, and then the abundance of planets in Gemini. Well, okay, Venus is at 0 degrees Cancer, but it's in the first house. But then we have Jupiter exactly conjunct the ascendant by 1 degree, and then Neptune and Pluto in the 12th, but in the same sign of Gemini. Fantastic for a writer, as we would guess, or an intellectual, which he was both. Jupiter makes him a natural teacher, philosopher. Neptune and Pluto bring in a lot of spirituality and creativity. And he was highly spiritual. He was involved in Eastern philosophy, Eastern spirituality, specifically Advaita Vedanta. And I'm hesitant to say religion because if you studied Advaita Vedanta, which I have, it's not so much about religion as it is about spiritual awakening. That's really the focus of it. And it's not really concerned with organized religion, focusing around like some like tenets and churches and leadership and all that. It's really just about practices and understanding and certain ways of thinking and perspectives and meditation and self-inquiry and correct mind. So anyway, Jupiter on the ascendant, and then Neptune and Pluto. I mean, in Gemini is not really so conducive towards that, but because he was an author and a teacher, the Gemini does help with that. It's not going to, he's not like an exalted guru, right? Philosophical guru. To some people, he kind of was, but it's more on the low end where he's able to write. And I don't mean it in any negative sense. I'm just saying that Gemini will deal with, is excellent for writing and teaching and speaking. Teaching in sort of like a classroom setting, like with students, and Jupiter here will help that as well. More academic than really purely philosophical. He was also friends with J. Krishnamurti, who was more like the real like guru type, right? Whereas Huxley was a little more academic and literary. Any case, he was deeply involved in spirituality and literature. Obviously, he wrote like 50 books and was nominated for like, I don't know, 11 Nobel Prizes, something like that. Something really outrageous, like hugely successful in his field. Let's put it that way. He has Mars in Aries. Mars rules Aries in 11th house, together with North Node. We can see that his career success is going to be, big. And he's very much into working with others, working with groups and people, and considering not just working with groups and people, but really considering society as a whole, because 11th house on the upper spectrum and the more mature, evolved expression is concerned with society. And he was, that's what Brave New World was about. And also, I think he wrote a utopian novel later called The Island. So he was very concerned with society. He's thinking about the big picture. He's thinking about everyone. He's thinking about the whole world, right? His MC is in Aquarius, and Aquarius again is we're repeating that same theme, the 11th house theme. Aquarius is the natural rule in the natural zodiac. It occupies the 11th house. So career in Aquarian, thinking about utopian versus dystopian societies. That's very Aquarian ideal, right? And then we got the trine from the MC to all these planets. And there's also trine from Saturn, another exalted planet, Saturn in Libra, this grand air trine. Like the guy is super, super bright, super intellectual, right? He's got grand air trine that it's like he was just a literary genius, pretty much, basically. I mean, Saturn's in Libra, and Saturn in Libra is excellent for justice, right? Saturn is the authority. Saturn is the restriction, the rules. And in Libra, it really, 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 really gets into sort of like justice, right? It's the judge. Saturn in Libra is like the exalted judge. It's the judge who's the most fair, the most balanced, and can really understand that sort of thing: fairness, balance, the law, rule of law, justice, right? It's in his fifth house, the house of creativity. So he could really hone in on society and sort of understand it in a way that others, had a much harder time, and really focus and understand the imbalances of society extremely well. Right. He's also got this Uranus in Scorpio, and if we look at the declination and speed of the planets, we can see Uranus is stationary. That's his only stationary planet. But look, it's everything is except for true Lilith and Mercury slightly retrograde. Everything's direct. By the way, Mercury is very slow retrograde, so it just went retrograde probably a few days earlier. So his intellect again, and then his Uranus, which is that same theme of the 11th house in Aquarius. Uranus is the truth teller. It's the great awakener. In Scorpio, it's considered exalted. It's this is an excellent, but it really speaks to what Aldous Huxley was remembered for, which is telling the truth, right? Brave New World is an expose on the state of affairs of modern society, politics and politically and socially, and it really was deeply, deeply insightful about the trends of even prophetic. As prophetic, like I said, like George Orwell's 1984 was prophetic. Brave New World was equally prophetic. They represent different sides of society. Brave New World is about this an entire society that is godless and hedonistic and loves their servitude, and it's a complete sort of communist dystopian nightmare where it's just everything's soulless. The society is completely soulless, and it's just read it. You'll get it. I don't want to say too much. I mean, I could say a lot, but I don't, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, right? But that's the stationary Uranus in Scorpio in the sixth house. Sixth house is a very critical house because it's mundane work, but it's also Virgo's original house. So it's like the analytical, critical mindset. And then Aquarius and Scorpio is like very deep and psychological and powerfully aware. It's just this excellent combination for understanding and criticizing the shortcomings of modern society. And this was way back when, in the 30s, and he already got it, and it's 100% relevant to right now, like to today, this day, like right now. It's like completely relevant, and it's like, how did he understand? It's amazing, really. He was a prophet. He was right up there with any other prophet, I'm telling you. And there is a wide opposition to the moon. So again, the Uranus is making contact with moon, which is excellent. Not making too many other contacts. Pluto it's in same degree, so that's quite good. It's in conjunct Pluto, but it's still making a strong aspect. I guess Lilith too, but we're not going to count that because that doesn't seem relevant. But Pluto and Gemini does, because Pluto even though it's in the 12th house, it's still going to relate to, well, number one, Gemini is very intellectual. That's the, one of the main signs that points to the intellect. Pluto and Gemini will be psychological, deep thinking, intellectual, and very aware of the secrets and the hidden narratives, the hidden agendas in politics, in society. So they're both outer planets. So this is actually quite a powerful, even though it's in conjunct, this would relate more to inconjuncts are probably one of the most difficult aspects, because they have a very hard time connecting, but it is a subconscious sort of connection, creative connection, almost like 12th house planets. And for a writer, I think that's okay. They can more easily access that relationship than others, because again, it's activating. It's sort of a blind spot that exists more in subconsciously, right? So, and 12th house is also subconscious as well. So he's able to make that connection in his subconscious. In any case, Chiron is in the 4th house, and that's square Neptune and Jupiter, Pluto a little bit, but 4th house dealing with early childhood. What I can say about this is that I just read in Wikipedia, he had eye problems. He lost sight in one of his eyes, not completely, but it ruined his desire to go into medicine, which, ironically, not ironically, but very appropriately, is in Chiron's in Virgo, and medicine deals with, Virgo's related to health and sickness and healing, medicine, doctors. Virgo's a very doctor, healing, medicine oriented sign. So that's quite interesting, right? Early childhood, wanted to be a doctor, but his eyes prevented him from that, eye problems, and then he went into literature instead. So that was a saving grace. But that's Chiron square Jupiter and Neptune in 4th house Virgo. And then if we look at the 6th house, Uranus is here. And Uranus is not, well, malefics are good in the 6th house. But that also correlates to his desire to be a doctor. But Uranus, I think, would contribute to health issues, because well, Uranus is just not a planet that really has much physical support. It's kind of pretty out there. So it's not going to really be conducive to health. Excellent for awareness and the mind, right? But not so much the body. It's too far out there. So it's like just highly charging the intellect and the awareness and the consciousness, expansion of consciousness, not so much physical support. Mercury is in the 2nd house. Again, that's excellent for teaching, because speaking ability, right? Speaking, 2nd house voice, knowledge, because 2nd house deals with assets and wealth, like gathered assets, but knowledge is also a gathered asset. So knowledge is also 2nd house. So speaking, knowledge, teaching, wealth and values also. But in this case, for his teaching and speaking, and that as well as writing, it also supports writing, because 2nd house supports the 3rd house, right? And there is a voice in writing. Even if you're writing, you still have a voice. It's not the spoken voice, but it's the written voice. It's still there. It's still present. So 2nd house definitely contributes to 3rd house writing, expression, right? Venus in the 1st house. let's see. So Venus is in Cancer, it's ruling the 12th house cusp and 5th house cusp. So excellent for creativity because Venus is naturally creative. Cancer is very conducive to creativity and ruling the 12th and 5th house. So making him very creative. And what else? Venus in the 1st house is excellent for looks and feet, makes a person very good looking. I can't comment on that more than that. But I imagine that he was very attractive to the opposite sex. Jupiter also is very good on the ascendant, and makes him very wise and spiritual and teacherly. That is pretty much it. Let's see, Jupiter is ruling the 7th house. That makes him, that's very good for recognition because he's attracting people to him. 7th house is others, so he's always attracting others to him. People really like him. He's very popular. Pisces is not ruling a house cusp, but that's 10th. It would have 10th house influence. So bringing the career to him. So again, fame, recognition. Yeah, that's very, very powerful. Right. So what else can we say? He's got so many dignified planets. Sun, Moon, Mars, and Saturn, and Uranus. He was destined for fame. He's got his North Node conjunct the 11th house cusp. Again, great for career success, for recognition, for wealth from the career, especially as he got older. South Node in the 5th in Libra, so like create anything creative, and Libra is great for writing as well, as is Gemini. So he really has a strong chart for success and for intellectual pursuits. Yeah, and extremely aware, and yeah. He was a huge influence on modern life, modern culture, and he still is, like I said, completely relevant to right now. It's amazing. Go read it. Go read Brave New World if you haven't already. You'll get it. All right, that's pretty much it for Aldous Huxley. He's definitely one of my I don't want to say heroes, but somebody who I greatly and deeply admire. Fantastic contributor to modern awareness. So that's it for today, guys. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to book a reading, go to my website, macroastrology.com. And I will see you soon. All right. Thank you. Bye.